Ready? Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Borough of Green Tree Council meeting for Monday, November 6, 2023. We'll have a moment of silence today. We have a few things to think about. One is Veterans Day coming up on the 11th, so we really want to thank all our military. Thank them for their services, all the veterans and current members. Also, I was just recently informed that Dr. Paul Kirsch has passed away. Dr. Kirsch served the community very well in the school district and also served on council, so I want to have him remembered in our moment of silence. And then I was just something to think about. There's a child from Scott Township that's missing, last seen on Arla. And we don't know how it's been resolved at this point, so I would ask to keep her in your thoughts this evening also. So without further ado, another moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Kim.
Ms. Barrett?
Here.
Mr. Lindsay?
Here.
Mr. Piazza?
Here.
Mr. Ray?
Here.
Mr. Romanovich?
Present.
Mr. Tarosi?
Present.
Mr. Tentori?
Present.
Mayor Shank?
Present. Okay, we'll next move to approval of the minutes for the October 2nd, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
Have a motion?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We'll now have a hearing of the citizens. Anyone wishing to address council on general business or agenda, please step forward and state your name.
Christine Short, 251 Park Edge. Cheryl Bacon isn't here tonight. She wanted me to remind folks that the public meeting for the revised comprehensive plan for the Planning Commission, the public meeting is November 15th at 7 p.m. here in the Borough Building. Planning Commission's been working really hard on this plan. And I know there is a draft copy for review out on the borough website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Tim Runco, 1451 Glencoe. A little less than a year ago, I was here in front of you all about the same subject, and that is the condition of the end of Glencoe Drive Avenue. And last year I was told I was too late to get it on the budget. It's too late to even consider it. The road down there, the end of the road, it starts right here, right next to the Borough Building, goes a mile. And at the end, there's a gate that leads to a trail that people use. There's park benches on the trail. It's a really nice place. It's a gem of Green Tree Borough. The road, however, the last half mile of it is in terrible disrepair and has been for years, to the point where it's dangerous. It is unsightly. It's embarrassing to us residents to have to live on a road like that when we take such good care of our homes. There's potholes everywhere, cracks. It's just dilapidated. I can tell you that I've never seen a road in this borough as bad as that area of road. what makes it worse for me and my neighbors is that I see other repavement projects going on. Roads, just recently right here. West Manila, probably 18 months ago, the end of West Manila. The residents down at Glencoe would love to have the roads that they had before they were torn up. Okay, we'll take their torn up roads just in that condition. That would be a huge improvement to our street. And it's dangerous. There's potholes everywhere. There's a lot of foot traffic. There are bicycles, walkers, families walking, mothers and fathers strolling their infants in strollers. And this time of year is even worse because there's leaves on the side of the road where most of the deterioration is, and they can't see the potholes, the cracks. So what they end up doing is walking more towards the middle of the road. And if any of you have ever gone down to the end of Glencoe, it twists and turns and you should drive slow. There's vegetation that can overgrow on the road. And honestly, it's an embarrassment. And so what, and I've talked to some of my neighbors and they're in agreement, and I didn't bring them all down here because I just wanted to refresh your memory and remind you all that we need help. We need help down there. It has been neglected for 15 to 20 years. I've been down there 22 years. I built my home down there 22 years ago. And I think once we had, in the early 2000s, oil and chips. That's all we got, oil and chips. And nothing since. So I implore you all, it's not far. It's right down this road. During the daytime, take a ride down there. What you'll see is today you'll see a lot of leaves on the road, but underneath those leaves are potholes and cracks and it's bad stuff. People can get hurt, and that's a liability. And you all should be concerned about that liability. Because at the end of the day, I think Green Tree Borough is on the line if what I feel like a tragedy waiting to happen. Some people drive fast down there. Miss Judy Miller, we've talked about that before, and
So we spoke last week, and I think
Yes.
as we were getting off the phone, I mentioned to you that I had an infrastructure engineering follow-up meeting shortly
Okay.
after we talked, and you'll be happy to know that it is being recommended
Okay.
for that section of Glencoe. Obviously, Glencoe is a very long road, but that section of the road is going to be placed on the 2024 road paving program.
on the what?
On the 2024, it's going to be part of the bid specifications for the 2024 road paving program.
Who votes on those bids?
You're looking at them.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I plead with you. This is important, and it could hurt our borough if some young mother with an infant in a stroller gets off the road real quick because a car's coming, stroller falls down, somebody gets hurt. Or someone breaks their ankle, or a biker gets hurt because he couldn't see the pothole. And as you know, there's a beautiful trail at the end of that road. And it's an attraction for Green Tree residents and others. People come from other townships and park down there and take that walk. And it, you know, it could be a gem of this township. It is, the trail's a gem, but to get there, it's not so nice. It's like it's zoned ghetto or something.
So just as long as it's on the schedule, we vote on the entire contract. If that's on the schedule, it'll be paid next year.
Okay,
We don't vote by road. The infrastructure committee says these are the roads that are on the schedule. We vote for a contractor to pave the roads, and then those roads are paved.
okay,
Right. And Mr. Runka, I've made notations here that I make sure that our infrastructure committee that I chair will make sure that we discuss this specific road in that plan.
thank you very much. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to acknowledge Judy Miller for helping me out so much for this. She's been the best manager of this township since I've been here. And thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all for hearing me out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. We have a MS4 presentation this evening from LSSE. And tonight, John Valesky
Yes, sir.
is going to present.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. Great to see everyone this evening. This is just your annual MS4 update to your permit, just as a refresher for everybody of where your permit status currently is. MS4 stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. It deals with your storm sewer infrastructure. Locally, DEP administers this permit. All the adjoining municipalities have a permit similar to yours. Nationally, it is recognized by the EPA. The ultimate goal of this permit is to improve water quality being discharged from the borough storm sewer infrastructure. The permit's broken down into 6 different kind of categories. One's public involvement, public education, public participation. We want to make sure all the residents are aware that the borough does have this permit and that are participating in the stormwater improvements as best as they can. That not only includes stream cleanup events, any sort of recycling events, any green initiatives the borough provides. We want to make sure the word is on the street for all the residents to participate to the best of their abilities. We also want to make sure that only stormwater is being discharged from your storm sewer system. We want to make sure that there's no illegal sanitary sewer connections or any illicit discharges coming from your sewers. We do complete annual screening of all your outfalls to ensure that only stormwater runoff is reaching the streams from your stormwater infrastructure. We also ensure that your stormwater management facilities, such as detention tanks, rain gardens, stormwater management facilities are still operating as they were designed over the past few years. We complete annual reviews and provide recommendations of any improvements that need to be made. The last thing we also do is work with Public Works to ensure that they're also operating in accordance with the MS4 permit requirements. That includes completing reviews of the Public Works facility, annual staff training, and this council training as well. Also, as part of your MS4 permit, you do have what's called the pollution reduction plan. For those who remember, back in 2017, you adopted the plan to commit to a few projects to reduce the sediment and improve water quality within the borough. It's broken down into 2 separate projects. One, we had the rain garden improvements over at the park and over at the Public Works facility. That project was bid recently and is on this agenda for council consideration later this evening. Essentially what that project will be is constructing 2 rain gardens within the park and 1 down at the Public Works facility. This will improve water quality and kind of also act as a stormwater runoff control, holding water back and reducing downstream erosion. The other project that's included in your MS4 permit is the stream restoration project. This has been in DEP's permit review process for about a year now. We are currently working with borough staff to get any sort of private property easements to complete the project. And once we have those easements in hand and the permit in hand, then we will go out to public bid, hopefully construct this time about next year. Lastly, the borough did receive 2 grants to complete all these projects. They total about $1.3 million from the local share account and a watershed restoration project. So overall, that's kind of where the borough permit stands. It was extended 2 years. It was supposed to expire this past March. It has been extended to March of 2025. We do not know what your next permit's gonna be from 2025 to 2030. We hope to have that guidance by DEP by the end of this year. There is a presentation by DEP next week that we are attending to hopefully have some guidance and some direction. And once we have that feedback, we'll provide it to council as well, so they can be aware what 2024 is gonna look like. So that's the kind of quick, short, sweet PRP MS4 status update. I'll be happy to answer any questions of council if there are any.
Anybody have any questions for John?
Just for the audience, could you identify who you work for?
John Walensky, I am with LSSC, the borough engineer.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so
all.
much.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. First up will be finance and general policy, Mr. Troisi.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I would move that we ratify the actions of the borough manager, paying the October 2023 invoices from the general fund, a total of $349,568.39. The farmer's market totaling $1,201, payroll account totaling $198,908.74. Educational Service Agency totaling $5,432, and credit cards for September 2023 of $2,674.50.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Not all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained.
Abstain. I abstain because my husband Russ Barron is on the list for open reimbursements of funds for Oktoberfest 2023.
Thank you very much. The motion, the action carries.
Next, I would move that we approve the payment of the November 2023 invoices from the general fund totaling $217,072.83. Storm sewer totaling $3,458.50. Sanitary sewer maintenance fund totaling $571,594.84. Capital projects totaling $395,580.15. The bond fund totaling $1,002.56. And the farmer's market totaling $933.50.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Motion carries.
Next, I would move that we appoint Campbell Durant as General Labor Counsel with rates established through membership in the Public Employer Labor Relations Service.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
Next, I would move that we appoint U.S. Bank Trust Company, National Association, as the custodian of the 2021 bond proceeds and authorize the borough manager to execute the necessary agreements with U.S. Bank Trust Company, National Association for the purchase of U.S. Treasury notes, state and local government securities with the 2021 bond proceeds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Just to explain further, we have bond issues, or we have bond funds that we received. We are not able to, or in certain cases, we're able to invest that money. So we needed to have an outside organization come in and help us to look at the investments we're allowed to make. So therefore, we would be allowed to keep those, because there's an issue with arbitrage that we have to get past. And that's what this would be doing.
Just a further explanation, we took out a bond, it's my understanding, and someone could correct me if I'm inaccurate. We took out a bond for the Trumbull Street Bridge. The Trumbull Street Bridge, the only bridge we own in Green Tree, needs replaced. And money potentially to either upgrade or do improvements or a new swimming pool. So we're not going to spend the money as soon as we anticipate it due to, we're trying to get additional funds and there's engineering costs or engineering work that needs to be done. So while we have that bond money available, our bond counsel, Ron Brown, I used to work with him at Grogan Graffham. That's his expertise. I was a partner of his. He's recommended that we make some money on the bond money that's just sitting there. So this is his recommendation, and he has written a letter explaining how we can make some money safely, not going to Vegas on the money, but safely make some money with treasury bonds and others. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have we earned any interest on those funds now, or they just sit in an account?
They're in a obligate account earning interest that I do not believe is yet has gotten above the threshold that we would be allowed to keep. But they do a look back period of 5 years, so we're okay.
So we approve that. I got sidetracked
All
in
in
it.
favor.
Yes,
It
okay.
needs to happen.
Okay, that's where we were sidetracked on. I didn't think we approved.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
We have a motion and a
yes, we have
second.
seconded.
That was a discussion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Thank you very much.
Okay, next I would move that we authorize the borough manager to execute a contract for auditing services with Maher Duzel for audit years 2023 and 2024 in accordance with the Maher Duzel auditing proposal that was dated July 20th, 2022. You may recall, last year we did vote on this proposal and tried them out for a year. I think that they've been very helpful and diligent in pointing out areas of opportunity in the finances of the borough to make us stronger and keep us stronger. And we did meet with the finance committee and did vote to make this recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
I have a question.
Sure.
Because it's a professional service, we don't need a competitive bid.
Well, it was competitively bid last year. But it is a professional service, so we're not obligated to take the lowest price.
So the pricing that we received last year is still honored this year?
I would seek to get new proposals should this be voted down, just to confirm with
Their
Myers,
proposal
Patsy. and
Their proposal
Their
is, yes.
proposal is still,
Yes. Marduso is holding theirs,
Yeah.
yes.
so it could, the pricing from last year, the other two firms that we received bids from were about $8,000 to $9,000 per year, lower than our current auditor. To the finance committee, you mentioned that they're doing a good job. Could you be a little bit more specific on
Well,
what they're
they've
doing
made
different?
certain recommendations for checks and balances that have been pointed out, not only in their review of the borough systems, but also that were reaffirmed by the peer reviews we had done by the DZED and recommendations to help us carry those through as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. We did receive the almost similar recommendations from the DCED peer review. So I'm wondering what additional value the $9,000 will get us.
Marduso is the gold standard for any type of nonprofit or governmental agency. You can look them up. The other two, I don't think even come close to expertise and ability. So that's just one
And I
thought.
think that the last auditing firm that we had also was pretty complacent in what they did in the last few years. And the recommendation, they actually never had any recommendations, whereas Maher Duzel came in and made some recommendations, again, that probably should have been caught by the auditors quite a while ago.
And what changes have we made based on those recommendations? We were supposed to receive a presentation, but that presentation was basically boilerplate. It wasn't a complete assessment of our operations. It seemed like it was an incomplete presentation of what they had done up to that point. I was expecting that we were gonna have another presentation that sort of completed everything, that brought everything together.
Typically, I will say that the presentation that they gave was pretty standard as far as auditing, municipal audits go. The management letter was finalized after that, so that wouldn't have been part of that presentation.
So it's a standard presentation that most auditors do.
It's standard in what they touch on in relation to municipal finances, yes.
And Marduso also has the added bonus of having continuing education and other resources that will help the folks who are in these positions. And as this work continues to evolve, we'll have a built-in resource for those things.
While they might be the gold standard in some opinions, the other firms clientele include Cecil Township, Peters Township, Roslyn Farms, Swickley Heights, among about a dozen others. Just find it hard to justify an additional spending of about $26,000 over 3 years with recommendations that were made in the peer review, the things that Judy had identified of her own personal assessment of operations. So I'm not in favor of spending the additional $26,000.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstention, abstained?
Was it David and Reno?
David Reno, Renaud. Okay, thank you very much.
Let's see, next I would move that we pass ordinance number 1888, repealing chapter 67, which is the newspaper official of the borough's code of ordinance in its entirety. The basis for this motion is that every year we make the president designates the newspaper of general circulation, and it's my understanding that this ordinance is really kind of redundant and unnecessary.
But we have to do it.
Second.
I don't understand.
Yeah, neither do I. I understand the redundancy, but what are we doing there?
Sure. Do you want me to jump in? So there was a couple issues that came up. One was when the ordinance, as it's in place, both named the newspaper of record for the borough and also names the newspaper that is supposed to be of record if for some reason Post-Gazette is not publishing. And given the strike, we managed to get through that. The problem is that the newspaper, the backup newspaper, I'll call it, doesn't meet the definition anymore of a newspaper of general circulation under the statute. So that wouldn't qualify as a newspaper for advertising for the borough. So it names a newspaper that's no longer a newspaper of general circulation because it only publishes once a month and it has to publish at least weekly. The other thing is that the charter specifically says the council is to name the newspaper of record annually. So to then adopt it by ordinance is conflicting with the charter.
So we're just removing the ordinance, but we still pass it by motion.
Exactly.
Thank you.
That was
Yeah.
the same. Thank you, Rena.
Okay, so we have a motion. We have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Troisi,
Yes.
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay,
Yes.
Mr. Panza,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Romanovich,
Yes.
Mr. Tintori.
Yes. Ordinance passes.
Next, I would move that we adopt resolution 1333, allocating the distribution of state aid funds to the non-uniformed employees money purchase plan and Green Tree Borough Police Pension Fund.
I'll second that, but I have a question.
Okay, your second and any discussion?
Yeah, so the non-uniformed, is that the administrative staff?
Yes. Administrative and Public Works,
And, right,
anybody but the police.
and we're distributing those funds now?
That's when they come in.
Oh, just the funds we're getting from the state.
Correct.
I'm sorry,
Oh, yeah, the money.
our
that goes
monies.
in all the time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
routine.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Troisi,
Yes.
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay,
Yes.
Mr. Panza,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Romanovich,
Yes.
Mr. Tintori.
Yes. Resolution passes.
Next, I would move that we adopt Resolution 1334, setting the contributions by the participants of the Borough of Green Tree Police Pension Plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Yeah.
Mr. Troisi,
Yes?
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay,
Yes.
Mr. Panza,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Romanovich,
Yes.
Mr. Tintori.
Yes. Motion passes.
Okay, and finally, I would move that we adopt resolution number 1335, designating the borough manager to perform the required duties between the Borough of Green Tree and the Commonwealth Financing Authority, authorizing the proper execution and delivery of the statewide local share assessment grant application in the amount of $1 million for the Green Tree Swimming Pool Improvements Project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Kim.
Mr. Troisi,
Yes?
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay,
Yes.
Mr. Panza,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Romanovich,
The numbers
Yes.
are off.
Mr. Tintori.
The numbers are off. I don't mean to outstate, but these numbers are off.
Oh, you know what? There was another agenda that was posted.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
she caught it. Sorry about that, yeah.
And I'm a yes. Motion
No,
passes.
that's,
Sorry.
sorry.
And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Appreciate the catch.
Are you sure?
Thank you, Mr. Troisi. We move on to infrastructure. Mr. Romanovich.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adopt resolution 1336, authorize Char West Cog executive to see CDBG on behalf of Green Tree Borough for the ADA ramp programs in the amount of $44,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, which, you mean outside of the ones we already did?
Yes, there were 26 we started with from the very beginning, and we've managed to knock off a couple every year, maximizing our CDBG.
Yeah, I was just talking about the most recent ones we did.
Oh, that
with
was
the
for
streets.
year 49, I believe. This, I believe, is year 50.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Every year it comes up new funding, so this actually was a reallocation of our application, because initially we had put in for some funds for the social hall, but they determined that that would be not an eligible project, so we quickly redid the application to put it in for the.
How many ramps are we getting for 44,000?
Not many.
I didn't think so. That's why I'm
Yeah.
asking, but you don't know.
We usually do about 23,000 per year. So we have 2 years, 1 year completed, the next year is in the process of being rebid, and then this will be for the following year. So I'm gonna say maybe 5 or 6,
Sheesh.
or maybe 6 or 7.
Okay, we have a motion. and
I'll
a
do it for
second.
that.
Pardon me?
No, I'll do it for that.
We have a motion and a second. I'd like a roll call vote, please. Kim.
Mr. Romanovich,
Yes.
Mr. Troisi,
Yes.
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay,
Yes.
Mr. Panza,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Tintori.
Yes. The resolution passes.
All right, moving on, Mr. President. I move that we award a contract to LM&R Excavating in the amount of $309,525 for the Green Tree Park Stormwater Improvements Project in accordance with the Borough Engineers correspondence dated 31 October 2023.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Could you explain what that is, Craig?
This is part of the MS4 program, and it's the construction of a rain garden over within the Green Tree Park, down along the left side, won't interfere with anything. But it's part of our MS4
Like
requirement.
down over the
Yes.
hill?
Mhm.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just assumed he was asking me.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The motion passes. That's it?
That's all
No.
I have, Mr. President.
Okay.
No, there's one more.
That's all I have.
Yeah, I have one. Do you want me to do it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I thought he had it. Yes.
No,
Ms.
he's
Barrett.
done. I have one.
I know
Alright.
you do.
Okay. I move that we authorize the borough manager and solicitor to engage in discussions with Point Park University representatives for the purpose of developing an agreement / memorandum of understanding for the future development and use of Point Park University Field within Green Tree Park.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
So.
All-
Is it?
So this is just a motion to begin those conversations. There is no plan, there is no anything of understanding. Anything that would be brought to us would come to our committee and then to council. So this is just a continuation and is related to the conversation I had last month that Point Park University is interested in creating an agreement between the borough and themselves for improvements to that field in particular that would benefit, mutually benefit their players and our community. But that's all we have right now.
Is it the official name of the park, Point Park University Field?
We do refer to it as the Point Park Field, yes.
I'm just confused why you needed a motion to do this.
We just wanted it to be on the record that we are engaging in conversations with them. I would not want the council or the public to hear about fundraising efforts on, by Point Park. It's sort of like a catch-22 situation that Kate and I have talked about. They would very much like to begin a fundraising campaign. They estimate that the improvements to this ball field and facility area would be about $2 million. So I just want council, everybody to be on the same page that we do want to engage in these conversations with them. On their side of it, it's a lot of money to go out and try to secure because they would look to have in exchange for the improvements a long-term lease for the field. And that's obviously a big commitment for the borough. It's a big commitment for them. So we just wanted on the public record that these conversations are taking place.
I just thought it was odd that, there's no official proposal or anything for us to even, or for you guys to even to
And
review.
once we do come down to, once we can settle in on any type of an agreement or memorandum of understanding for the future use and development, we will bring that back to council.
Okay, any further discussion? I think we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Thank you very much. We will move on to the mayor's report. Mayor Shank.
Okay, thank you. Last meeting, I got to vote twice. 10 years I'd not been able to vote, but there were 2 ties. So I hurried home. I took the red eye home last night from Napa, just in case I got to vote again. But we'll see what happens.
I hope it's another 10.
In regard to Dr. Kirsch, he was elected in 2006 as council. He has served on the Keystone Oaks, as the president pointed out. Mr. Tintori, he had served on the Keystone Oaks School Board, which is difficult for many years, and he served 4 years here between 2006 and 2010. He was a good guy. He had 2 daughters. They used to babysit us. We knew his wife too that predeceased him. So my condolences to the family of Dr. Kirsch. In regard to President Tintori mentioned that 11-year-old girl, at least as of 3 hours ago, that's the last report she was a runaway. That doesn't make it any less dangerous, but it's my understanding that she was a runaway and they were looking for her all day at various police departments to see if they could locate her. So hopefully by now that they've located her. I mean, I have no updated information, but in any event, that's where that stands. In regard to police officers, there's 14 applications for police officers. Civil Service Commission is going to meet this Thursday, I believe 7:30 in the morning, and go over the applications and start the process, the written process and the physical fitness to certify to council 3 potential candidates, and the council would take it from there. So we're moving along on some applications in the police department. Participate in a couple of events. Aiken sponsors Trunk or Treat. There's several hundred kids. The police were there. 3 police officers were there during portions of that Trunk or Treat behind Aiken School. They decorate all the trunks. They were very nice trunks. I was one of the members to select in various categories, but they were all very nice. A lot of work was put in on that event. I also participated in the Keystone Oaks Homecoming Parade. It goes from the Dormont School over to the football field, and all the mayors and the police also participated in that. In regard to the police, we have actually 5 vehicles, but 2 of them, one was damaged. One was parked and somebody hit it. We won't mention who hit it, but anyhow, it was hit, and it's in the repair shop. And we also got a new vehicle, and we should have that new vehicle up and running. So right now, 3 of the 5 are in operation. In regard to new body cameras, we got new body cameras, not vehicle cameras. We still have the old ones, but in the new body cameras, we're waiting for more Motorola. That's who they're from, engineers, to coordinate the implementation of the new body worn cameras for the police officers. So that's coming about fairly shortly. The police department, in addition to the trunk or treat, they participated in volunteer fire department's Halloween parade. So we thank the Green Tree Volunteer Fire Company. I'm sorry, I said department.
That's the
volunteer.
That's the rec department's Halloween party
Okay, rec department. I'm sorry. So rec department. But
with the fireman's assistance.
With the,
But it is a rec event.
it's a rec event. Okay, thank you for that clarification there. But anyhow, that worked out well. A lot of kids, I believe, participated. I was away during that particular thing. It's already an event. It's already been pointed out. The planning commission's done a lot of work. That's November 15th, a Wednesday. So I'm hoping to be able to attend that event on Wednesday, on November 15th, the public meeting to see what is being recommended for the comprehensive plan. Every 10 years, it's not binding, but it gives an outline of where Green Tree's going on developments, road improvements and such things like that. So that's been in the work, and they've been working on that. And I believe that is, lastly, I was going to recommend to the Public Safety Committee, but I'll discuss with them later. SHACOG also has an eligibility list for police officers. They do one in May. So we'll see how this list turns out, but maybe SHACOG, they do testing, and that might be a possibility that we might look into down the road come May to get, if we need another list, depending upon how this one works out. End of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schenk. We'll move on to reports from committees. First up, Finance and General Policy, Mr. Troisi.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only thing I have to really report on is that, of course, being October already, or November already, I'm sorry, we are in budget season, which means that our public meeting for our annual budget, I believe, is November 20th. And we hope you all come to give your comments and input on our next budget. And that's all I have to report.
Very fine. Next up, Infrastructure, Mr. Romanovich.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to apologize for my absence at last month's meeting. I was at DC for some work. I did have the opportunity to visit with our U.S. representative to discuss some funding issues, some funding opportunities on the placement of EV charging stations on our public property here, amongst some other issues. Outside of that, our committee did meet last month with Lennon Smith and the borough manager to discuss several infrastructure issues. We discussed the Trumbull Bridge project and why that delay has happen because we're working on trying to secure more funding for that project. Excuse me, a newer issue falls around some stormwater conveyance over at Holiday Drive, and plans and processes of trying to get that resolved. Outside of that, the road program this year should be wrapping up at some point this week. I believe Ms. Miller reported it should be tomorrow. Rook Stairs is finally completed and seeded. That did come in at roughly $15,000 under budget. And our traffic light upgrades over here at East-West Manila intersection is completed, and a vast majority of that cost was paid for by a grant. That is the end of my report, Mr. Bell. If I may take a point of privilege real quick, tomorrow is Election Day. And as we know, the 11th is Veterans Day. The best way you can pay respect to those veterans is to get out and exercise your right to vote, regardless of your political affiliation, who you want to vote for. Please exercise your right to vote. That's all I have.
I have a question about the federal funding for the bridge. What do we anticipate? What's the estimate of funding that might come in to help support that?
So far, we've only got a commitment of, I believe it's $600,000 was for preliminary engineering. After that, we have to wait for Gannett Fleming, which is the engineers on the project. They have to do what is a final construction, final engineering construction phase of it. And when they do that and they estimate the cost of it, that's when the feds will probably announce an allocation. But I'm hesitant to say, especially in a public forum, how much that may be, but it could be very substantial.
Okay, it could, okay. So it would
Could be very
offset,
substantial.
could be very substantial to offset increased construction costs and all of that.
Yes, and as far as, just the conversations that we've had so far, that hasn't been raised as a concern, so, which is a good thing. Maybe by the time we get to actually bidding it out, which I would guess would probably not be until January, February of 2025, maybe the price, the inflation will be a little bit less of a factor and we can, stay on track.
Okay.
But I, just due to the funding, so we've already received $500,000 through the Multimodal Transportation Fund grant. And we received on top of that the $600,000 in tip money. So that's already over $1 million in funding. And then I would expect another substantial allocation for the actual construction. So I think we're in a really positive place as far as that.
When do we expect to hear that? If you had to,
I keep pushing for the timeline, but they're not ready to give it to me yet. So,
that's Gannett Fleming that,
yeah, they're not at that point yet. Like, not only are they not there, they're not prepared at this point to tell me when they will have that, be at that juncture.
and then the timeline is then submitted to the funder?
It goes through what's called the ECMS. It's a construction management site through PennDOT, which is part of the TIP program. And everything gets inputted through that system. It's a very, very structured system, which is a little bit why we're behind. Plus with federal funding, we have so many more mandates throughout the construction process that has definitely slowed it down, but I think it's well worth the delay. So I'll keep council updated as soon as I hear things, but we're in a good place so far.
Thank you, Mr. Romanovich. We'll move on to planning and zoning, Mr. Ray.
Thanks, Mr. Tintori. Planning Commission met with a commercial property owner in an advisory capacity. The property owner wants to convert hotel rooms into studio apartments. They would need variances for the height of the building and apartment size. The zoning hearing board met on October 26th. They heard two cases, one from Kosman, the operator of Defender Self-Storage. They approved a variance for square foot of signage. They asked for 162 square foot sign, whereas 58 square feet is allowed, and that was approved. And the second was Jersey Mike's. which will be taking the spot where the old 7-Eleven is on Green Tree Road and Leon Road. They requested 11 parking spaces, whereas 25 spaces are required. And they also asked for a 48 square foot sign, whereas a 23 square foot sign is allowed. And both of those were approved. And also, in regards to our executive sessions, I'd like to make a motion. And that motion is to give the requester of an executive session the option to require the meeting be scheduled and held within 5 business days of the request, and that the 5 days starts after the third member of council agrees to the meeting.
I don't understand what that is. So what do you, Kate, you want to help us out on that?
Well, currently, we don't have anything in the charter that requires the meeting to be scheduled in a certain amount of time. And I'm asking that we set a parameter there, that if someone requests an executive session, if they have the option to require that the meeting be scheduled and held within 5 business days. And that 5 days starts, because we need 3 people to agree to the meeting. That 5 days starts after third member of council agrees to the meeting.
Is that like a motion to establish a policy
Yeah.
of council?
Okay, so you want to establish a policy? Is that?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it would be codified, but if it's a policy,
Well, a policy wouldn't need to be codified.
okay. So then it would just be a policy of council. So then that motion is for it to be a policy of council.
So,
Where would that be written at?
So I think if you want to have that in consideration, it might make sense to do as a resolution, because that way there's a documentation to go along with it
Okay.
beyond just a verbal, and then,
So we'll put that on, that would have to go on next month's agenda.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can put that together as a resolution.
Great.
And put
Do
it on
I-
the agenda for a vote.
so we'll
Do
look
I-
at it next.
Do I need, so I can just request that that be put on the agenda, or do we have to have a councilmatic action for that resolution to be put on the agenda?
Well, I think typically there isn't a council action to put everything on the agenda, right?
Okay.
So I think that can be an administrative procedure.
I think if you would send me what you have
Okay.
written, that might help. And then what I could do is I could draft a resolution and then send it out to council so that they can. look at
Great.
it. Okay.
Good. And that's the end of my report.
I don't think my question was answered though. Where would that be written if
In
it
the
passes?
resolution. It's a resolution.
Right, but right now it's written in the code. It's not in the charter, right? It's on our
It's not-
codes.
Yeah, it's not in
It's not going to be a codified.
So where would that be in
If
the?
it's a policy wouldn't necessarily be codified, right? It would
No,
just
no,
be
no,
a
no. I know it's not codified, but it's got to be in writing somewhere. If we're going to pass a new policy, where would this policy reside?
It would just be as a resolution.
Like any other resolution.
So we just have to remember.
Send it to me.
All right. Thank you.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be followed.
So a resolution, I think if it came up as a question, should we follow our resolution? I'd say you should always follow your own rules.
Okay.
Right? So a resolution and can be repealed though, in the
Sure.
same way that it is adopted. Otherwise, it could be codified as an ordinance, but I think that would not be typical to codify a policy like that as an ordinance. And in order to amend the charter, it needs to be put on the ballot.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to public facilities and equipment. Ms. Barron.
Yeah, I just have a short update. I just wanted to thank everyone who came to the library book sale last month and shopped. But most importantly, wanted to thank all of the people who made that happen. Everyone from library staff, the library board members, public works, and a lot of volunteers. Everyone from high school students to library users, to Green Tree residents, to non-Green Tree residents, and everyone in between who really, it's a whole week-long effort to make that event happen. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to recreation, programming, and community welfare. I'm sorry, I missed Mr. Reno. Sorry. I can't miss you, Reed.
I would have,
Public safety,
I
Mr.
would've-
Lindsay.
I would have came back after and let you skip.
Okay.
It's okay.
I just like to dangle that in front of you.
Appreciate it. Following up on the mayor's report, he mentioned that civil service was meeting Thursday. I don't know if he mentioned the date of the physical agility and written exams. I think I might have mentioned it last month, but it is at the end of this month on the 28th, November 28th, will be the physical agility and written exams for the prospective police officers. And when they meet Thursday, civil service is supposed to review the sergeant promotion thing that we had passed last month or that we had requested last month.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, well, I wasn't privy to their agenda, but thank you.
It'll be posted.
Yeah, I assumed it was because it needs to be on there, but and I don't think there's anything else that the mayor didn't cover, so that would be the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Now, for recreation, Mr. Panza.
Yes, several items. I would like to start by saying, I did have the pleasure of serving on council with Dr. Kirsch. He was a great person, and he will be laid out at Slater's Funeral Home starting Wednesday from 2 to 4 and then 6 to 8. And then also the next day, November the 9th. Also, I assume in the evening, November the 9th. But I just wanted, he was always really good to the borough. In fact, for many, many years, he made a major donation to Oktoberfest that provided the pirate parrot, because of course he was a season ticket holder and an avid pirate fan. So I wanted to start off with that.
I'm
Second
sorry,
What?
can you, was that Slater's, did you say?
Slater's.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, thanks.
Which, sorry, I'm on the right one, check. Okay. Secondly, of course, we had a very nice year of the farmer's market, which just ended the end of last month. Any special updates or anything, like everything went well, you guys think?
Yeah, I do believe that the last two people that were on that committee are not coming back. Am I correct on that? So I don't know what is going to happen. The recreation board's gonna continue it, I don't know.
Okay.
We were just put in there to help assist the committee, but there was two left and that's it.
So I guess that will be discussions in the next couple of months of the future.
It's hard when you only have women. You have to lift up that equipment, so maybe there'll be some things that we can talk about if you want to continue it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we'll need to have discussions then in the next several months, about if we can continue. Okay, that was, item number 2. Item number 3, have to call out the city of Pittsburgh, because all of a sudden, people, they work 9 to 5. People were coming home on trick or treating night, getting home at 5:30. There was already a plethora of kids at people's doors because the city decided now to move trick or treating up to 5 to 7 p.m. And the Green Tree residents, they're rushing home, to get ready for our 6 o'clock trick or treating. And before, it was always, the times were always different, but you at least had time to come home from work and, get your stuff ready and out. Now, there's parts of Green Tree where you're not affected by that because you're not touching the city, but there's half of Green Tree is touching the city. So a lot of places you're getting the mix of kids. I mean, I understand, I don't understand, the city keeps moving it up. Are they afraid to trick or treat while it's dark out?
Yes,
Okay.
they are,
Okay, well, but, I mean.
because
the
it's
whole
for an
idea of
entire city.
Treating was not,
I just don't, Ron,
Yeah.
Mr. Panza, I'm not sure what relevance that this has to tonight's meeting. We in Green Tree, the time is set from 6 to 8. We cannot control what the city does. The city is a much larger community than we are and has many communities that are unsafe after dark, plain and simple. That we cannot affect that, we cannot change that. Folks can make individual decisions to give children treats before 6 o'clock, or they cannot. That is not really within our purview. And I don't think, though I understand what you're saying, it's not something that we can
Well,
resolve.
Shannon, and I'm very
I'm just-
surprised, you just said, what's the relevance? The relevance is clear. We are Green Tree residents where we're having city of Pittsburgh children coming to our houses.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
what I'm saying is, you said, I don't understand the relevance.
Well, you
Why
can
am I
choose to
talking
give out your candy before or not. If you can't, don't turn on your
Well, the
light
whole
and move
idea of
on.
Bringing this up is because it's relevant to Green Tree.
So what do you propose to do? That's what is the relevance there? What are you gonna do?
What I propose to do is, there is a structure in a committee called Connect.
Yes, I know
Called
Connect.
Connect Pittsburgh, okay? Where the whole idea of Connect was to provide communication between the communities that connect with the city of Pittsburgh.
Correct, yes.
So what more relevant question for Connect to work on than an issue that's affecting both the city and the
I
surrounding?
can think of probably 100 other reasons other than an hour difference of trick or treating. I just think that there's one of those things that we just have to handle in life. Trick or treating is trick or treating. It is a wonderful moment of celebration of being a kind neighbor. You choose individually or not. I don't think that we should be having a public discussion over the city of Pittsburgh and their trick or treat times.
Well,
And I do live on a street that is affected by that.
okay, well then you should know then some of my neighbors were concerned getting home and seeing half the kids already through the neighborhood and them not being able to supply a treat or a trick to the children. So, but I mean, okay, I understand your opinion, Shannon, but to say it's not relevant, that I totally disagree with.
It's just having this discussion in this form, I don't think is relevant. We have no ability to solve it, and that's why.
Well, but we do though, by me starting to call this out. If
What
no
are you-
one says anything, it will never be addressed. So I'm
Feel
not
free
just
to-
shocked that you feel that way. but-
Yeah, wow.
Okay,
Okay, could we move? Could you? move
okay,
on?
yeah, time to move on. The final numbers came in with Oktoberfest. We actually made a little bit of money this year. And that's due to the reimbursement of half the fireworks money for how bad they did the fireworks. There was nothing but problems.
Okay, so I just want to stop you again. I am literally getting text messages from my other part of my house who is watching this and telling you that the numbers are not final. And so they need to be reviewed.
Okay, well, we got preliminary final.
Preliminary numbers, yeah, that's great.
Okay, so, but all in all, everything was wonderful. The Oktoberfest committee did such an amazing job. We have a great leader and everything looks very positive for the future. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you very much. As far as the president's report, I'm just looking through what's already been brought up. Just a couple things then. Our light up Green Tree is going to be December 2nd this year. So that will be our first introduction to the holidays. So I want to make sure everybody's aware of that because we won't be meeting again until after that. Also, Thanksgiving is there certainly in a few weeks. We have that too to look forward to. As we mentioned, the budget meeting is on the 20th. Probably on the 5th of December, if I'm correct, which is our next borough meeting, we will be adopting the budget. So those are some things to be looking forward to. The newsletter should be out in a few weeks. And there's a lot of information about all the activities and events that are going on for the holidays. And also, hopefully, there usually is a review of like some of the organizations and clubs that are involved. Usually has a year-end review. Good idea to check out some of those organizations. They might need an extra volunteer or two. Wouldn't hurt to dedicate some time and effort to a lot of the community. There's so many of them in this community we're blessed with. It would be a good idea to maybe volunteer. Also, if there's any thing you would like to if there's some committees that the borough has, if you're interested in volunteering, we always encourage people to do that. And that is the end of my report, and manager's report is Miller.
Just to remind all the residents that leaf collection will be in full swing through the end of the month. We're a little bit behind, but Public Works has been doing some extra work and hustle to get caught up. But just so you know, it will be collected leaves through the end of the month. And then just lastly, the Rotary's doing their food drive, their annual food drive. There's some flyers here on the table, and then there's also some information on the website if you would like to buy some non-perishable food goods and put them on the front of at the front of your property. We'll be picking everything up on Saturday, November the 18th. So I hope that as many of our residents can participate in that. It's always a good cause to donate to the food bank. And that's it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I would like to make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
We are going to adjourn this meeting and attend a executive session immediately after this to discuss personnel issues. So we are adjourned. Thank you very much.